So what actually happens as you get your equation for survival? What happens is you begin to see that damn near every single way that you have tried to survive or escape your threat actually sets you up to experience it over and over again. You see all the different loops in your life, all the small cycles that keep you feeling disempowered, that keep you stuck in your experience of your threat. But one major distinction here, the difference between looking at it now versus before your equation for survival, is you see how you are the one who's actually contributing most or repeatedly creating these loops. It's all one big setup. And then seeing this, you may get incredibly frustrated about the fact that you are the one who has inadvertently been setting yourself up. However, this realization, this new view, and the frustration that comes with it is the best type of frustration you could possibly ask for. Because that frustration, although it doesn't feel good, it sets you up to make lasting change and transformation in your life. Think about it. If you're the one who's contributing most to these loops, then you're also the one who can disrupt them, which is incredibly powerful. So I want you right now to pause and create a quick list of all the ways that you've discovered, all the loops that you've discovered from answering your equation for survival questions and interviewing people. Just pause and make a quick list. Okay, good. So typically when people get to this point, their primary question is, all right, well, I can see all of this and I am very frustrated, but how the hell do I break out of it? The truth is that I don't have the answer to that question. You do. And I'm going to tell you exactly where to look to get the answer. Think back to the last question that you answered from your equation for survival. The question was, what ultimately have you been avoiding responsibility for this entire time? Responsibility isn't fault or blame or being culpable. Responsibility in this sense is actually referring to power or control. The actual question that it's asking is, what ultimately have you felt no power or control over being or having in your life? Whatever the answer to that is the answer to breaking free. It's the answer to your ever-present threat and equation for survival. And another way to look at it is, if you were being this way, or if you had this, or if you felt this way, then it would be impossible for your ever-present threat to live or exist. And it's probably very similar to the thing that you've been chasing this entire time. But no matter how hard you try or what you or anyone else does or says, it remains elusive, or you can't get a grip on it like a feeling or a way of being. And you really could just complete this sentence. No matter what happens or what I do or say, I never get to be blank. Whatever goes in that blank is ultimately the thing you've been avoiding responsibility for. And not intentionally, not like you made a conscious decision to not be responsible. But avoiding responsibility is like putting power outside of yourself and saying that you don't have any power to change something. So, I want you to take a moment to answer this question again with fresh eyes and ears. What thing could you be or have that would make it impossible for your threat to live? What is it that you have been chasing this entire time that no matter what happens, you can't actually be or have it? Okay, so this next part is very important. The way that you break free from your ever-present threat and equation for survival is to see yourself as the source of that which you want most but have felt powerless to be or obtain. That is to choose to see yourself as powerful able, capable of being that which you have felt like you can never be. It's choosing to take a stand, to stop blaming yourself or something outside of you, and take responsibility for being the thing that you felt most powerless to be or have. It's switching from I can't to I can, I will, and I am. If until now you felt no power or control over feeling secure, then the answer is to choose to see yourself as the source of security in your life. If until now you felt no power or control over feeling peaceful, then you become the source of peace wherever you go. If you have felt no power or control over being happy, then the answer is to choose to see yourself as the source of happiness. I know this might feel or sound a bit abstract or weird, so I'll tell you my story to help you get it. So a few months ago, I was in the same place of frustration as many of you probably are right now. And what do people do when they're frustrated? They complain. So I'm sitting there in the car on the way to a seminar with one of my closest friends. And I'm complaining about how I keep repeating the same cycle. I say, no matter what I do, there's something always in the way. I keep overcommitting. I keep allowing other people to make decisions for me to try to appease them. I'm doing everything right, but I keep producing mediocre results. It's so frustrating and it's blocking me from being great. So she listens for a while and she asks a couple questions, and then she says something that changed my whole world. She says, it sounds like you're not taking responsibility for something. Like you're making it the world's fault that you can't be, do, or have something. Like you don't have any power or say in the matter. What do you think it is? The thing that you're not being responsible for? So I say, I don't know, and I throw out a couple ideas. And then she throws out a suggestion. She says, it seems like you feel no power or control over your own greatness. What would it look like if you were fully responsible for being the source of your own greatness or being great? So that question stumped me. And at first I'm like, what? Like, I don't even know what that means. What does that look like? And she responds, well, what would it look like if you were the source or cause of being great? Like it was up to you and nothing or no one else. Take a look. I literally spent the next 6 hours mulling over that question in my head. And eventually the answer became crystal clear. If I was the source of greatness in my life, then I would stop chasing it. There would be nothing to chase. I would stop doing what I think would make me great based on some external standards and double down on the things that already make me great, that I'm already acknowledged for. Actually, I would just see myself as already great. The very next day, I stepped down from being CEO of my company because I saw that being CEO of a tech company was me chasing greatness. And instead, I chose to focus on what I'm sweet at, which is coaching. The crazy thing is that everything I had spent my whole life chasing instantly became available to me right there in that moment. And if you trust this process and if you commit yourself to it, then you are on the brink of your very own version of that breakthrough. And I'm gonna help walk you through it. Okay, so by this point, you're probably like, what the hell are you talking about, Miles? How do you choose to be the source or cause of being or having something that until this point you just felt powerless or like a victim or at the effect of something outside of you? How do you choose to be the source or cause? I'm gonna break this down into 2 steps. The first step is to just speculate, to imagine. And the second step is to powerfully choose. You begin with speculation by asking yourself the question of, if I were the source of X, and X is whatever it is that you have felt like you can't be or have, if I were the source or cause of X, If I had ultimate power or control over being X or having X, what would that look like? What would it actually look like for me to be responsible for being X? How would I see myself differently? How would I approach things like problems or life or other people differently? How would I relate to my ever-present threat differently? Take a stab at it now. Pause the video and reflect on those questions for a minute. It's quite possible that you have absolutely no idea what it would look like, and that's completely fine. It took me 6 hours to figure it out. The important point here is that this is a question that you're living into. This means that you continuously reflect on it. You keep it in the back of your mind as you're going through life. You keep it on the tip of your tongue, sharing the question or sharing that that's what you're trying to figure out with as many people as possible. And I'll give you a hint, it's not something that you're going to calculate or figure out. It's actually going to come to you either from conversations or like a flash of inspiration where you're like, oh shit, this is it. The second question to ask yourself in this speculation phase is, what would it actually take? What would it actually take for me to be responsible or be the source or cause of X? What changes do I have to make that until this point I've actually been unwilling to make? The answer to this is exactly that. It's something that until this point you've probably been unwilling to do, choose, something you've been unwilling to take on, or something you've been unwilling to give up or let go of, possibly for your entire life. For me, I had to make the tough choice to step down from being a CEO, but what it really meant is me choosing to finally stop putting 5 things on my life's plate at once and to focus in on just a couple things. It meant me choosing to miss opportunities. It meant me choosing to say no and choosing to actually be okay with like possible disappointment that people may have. I was unwilling to do all of those things up until I had that realization. And this is what I mean about your answer. No one told me any of that. It wasn't some advice that someone gave me. I discovered it for myself from being in an inquiry about what it would actually look like. So take a moment to reflect on and answer the second question. What would it take? What is actually required of me? Or what changes would I have to make to be responsible for being or having X in my life? Or to be the source or cause of being or having that in my life? That's all for the speculation and reflection phase. The next step is to actually choose. Is to fully choose to see yourself as the source and cause of the thing you want most. And you do this simply by saying it out loud, by writing it down. I know it may sound silly, but we already covered how powerful our language is in creating who we are and what's in our future. So the answer is to take everything that you speculated and reflected on and actually declare that that's exactly what you're doing. That's what you're choosing to do, and that's actually who you are. Instead of saying, I want to, I wish, or I could, you say, I am going to, I'm choosing to do this. This is who I am. Instead of saying, I can't, you say, no, I can and I will do this with whatever conviction you can muster up in your soul. Sometimes at this point, people have this experience like, I can't actually choose this because I have all of this evidence for why I'm not. Or I'm still stuck in my patterns. So how can I choose this? If this is your experience, then you're probably still waiting for something to happen in order to choose. When the answer is that you actually need to choose first in order for something to happen. Because when you choose, what you're doing is taking a stand. You're saying, no, I'm no longer allowing my threat to run my life. I'm breaking out of this shit. I'm breaking out of this shit. It's not gonna happen overnight. You're not gonna wake up and tomorrow be the embodiment of peace, love, and happiness. That's not how it works. But once you choose to be the source of whatever that is for yourself, it is the ultimate space of power. Because once people make this choice or take this stand, what they actually often discover is that they already are the thing that they just chose. All of this evidence opens up supporting the choice that you just made, and you can see it. You begin to see ways where it's true. You begin to see pathways for action that actually make it true. And beyond this, the actual events and situations that you need to make it happen. And you begin to respond in a way that you haven't responded up until this point. All it requires is a simple shift and focus and an actual powerful choice. So take a moment to do this now. For whatever the answer was to that question of what you have felt powerless about, or if you were this way, your threat couldn't live, or what have you been chasing that no matter what you can't be, you don't get to be or have. The answer to those questions, just try saying, I am choosing to be the source or the cause of that in my life. I'm choosing to be the source or cause of greatness, of love, of confidence, of acceptance, of power, whatever it is. You might feel silly saying this or skeptical that it might not make a difference, but it doesn't matter because your brain is actually listening. And there is a part of you that desperately wants this, that's actually grasping for it. If you want, take a minute to close your eyes and locate that within you, and then try saying it again. Say it and then pause. Just see what opens up for you. Do you see any new evidence? Do your emotions shift? Do new solutions or pathways begin to open up? New actions to take? And you might not notice an immediate shift, but then the question that you are living, that you keep in the back of your mind and the tip of your tongue, is what does it mean to be the source or cause of X in my life? What does that actually mean? If you keep that question present for yourself, then you're in for a powerful transformation. That question is the key that opens the door. So that's it for this video. Be sure to share your questions and your key takeaways, your aha moments, and your video reactions. And I highly suggest that you take the time this week to watch the bonus video. It's actually going to allow you to rapidly apply the choice that you just made to see how it actually works in real life with real problems that you may be dealing with. That's all for now. Peace.